Welcome to Uninterrupted. We're on a mission to unlearn and learn about all things fashion, retail, and tech from the best in the industries. Hop on and be part of our journey as we unleash these gems for you. This podcast has been presented by mirrAR.com, a global augmented reality technology platform revolutionizing the way people shop via their seamless virtual try-ons. Now available for jewelry, eyewear, and watches. Today, I'm in conversation with an entrepreneur disrupting the Indian jewelry space. She grew up learning the ins and outs of a jewelry business, went on to establishing a successful one herself, and is all set to revolutionize the space with her brand Pipa Bella. This is the first ever jewelry associated conversation we're having on Uninterrupted, and I'm elated to be chatting with Shuchi Pandya. Shuchi, welcome to Uninterrupted, and I'm very excited to chat with you about the changing face of the gems and jewelry industry in the country.
Thank you so much, Samriddhi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Before we dive into the industry, I'd like to chat about your brand Pipa Bella that has established itself as one of the most successful online businesses in a fairly traditional industry. So tell me a little bit about the inception of the brand.
Sure. So, Samriddhi, as you mentioned, I come from a family of jewelers. And for me, I always thought that the traditional jewelry industry was phasing out, with the sort of infusion of new luxury products, even technology. Women were just not necessarily looking at jewelry as such a important priority in their disposable income. So they were looking more at jewelry as a versatile option that they could wear with a variety of different outfits. It was something that they can mix and match from, say, a day to a night. And most importantly, it would have to be something that was good quality and also affordable. So those are the kind of trends that I was observing while I was in this, very immersively seeped into this traditional jewelry sector. And at the same time, I also felt that e-commerce online was becoming a very lucrative way to reach out to as many women as possible. Because I think just with the kind of high capex costs that are involved in setting up shops, even just otherwise trying to reach out to women in tier 2 cities without having an online presence in today's age is pretty much, an expensive affair. So that's why I think e-commerce and becoming this D2C brand was very paramount in our distribution method, which is how, honestly, merging these two interests of wanting to provide women with affordable, good quality jewelry that is versatile and has a good design element to it, and being able to reach out to as many women as possible, really expand into as many geographies as possible. That was the biggest motivation behind starting Pipa Bella as an e-commerce brand.
From there to now, it's been over 8 years. The industry on the whole has moved towards a more digital approach. Has your brand philosophy also kind of changed or evolved over time?
So I would say that our brand philosophy has remained the same over the last 8 years, in the sense that the core essence of our brand is still that we are targeting women who are, aspirational, they're urban working class women. They earn their own money. So they're able to make their own purchase decisions. They're social media savvy. And jewelry for us has always been about allowing a woman to express herself in the way that she wants, And that was also the core philosophy behind the name Pipa Bella. Because Pipa actually is a Spanish word for someone who's very bubbly, very spontaneous, very adventurous. And that's, a side of a personality, right? It's a type of personality, and we all know someone who we can describe as a Pippa. On the other hand, Bella is an Italian word for someone who's very classic, who's very dainty, and she has a very very simple, minimalistic type of aesthetic. And again, that's a personality type. We all know women who have that kind of a personality or design aesthetic. So the idea was really allowing Pipa Bella to be that synthesis between a wide range of personalities, of, design aesthetics, of how you want to express yourself, and to me, at least that is what jewelry is about. So that brand philosophy hasn't really changed. In fact, it's grown. It's become even more prominent in the last few years that we've introduced new categories and new products and new supply chains. But of course, in the sense that we have evolved as a brand in terms of the kind of distribution channels we look at, or the kind of messaging we give and the kind of communication we do with the customers.
Right. On the similar lines of what you just said, I feel like India has also kind of grown into believing that, even a single statement piece can kind of do it all, right? With the growing rise of minimalism as a concept, how is the fashion jewelry market and you as a brand responding to this belief?
I actually think there are some really great minimalist brands out there. And so the way we thought about it was that we felt that rather than us looking at just our designs, why don't we partner with some designers who do minimalist designs, right? And that's exactly what we went ahead and did. In fact, in December, we launched a designer edit, with a designer based out of Chandigarh. And she does a lot of minimalist designs, very simple geometric lines, circles, with very classic kind of materials that are used in the design. So really simple and very elegant. And we've seen such a tremendous response for that. And I really think that there's some very niche creative designers coming out of the ecosystem who are able to cater to this minimalist approach. To be honest, minimalist designs are also, from a supply chain and manufacturing perspective, easier to make, right? And easier to scale up with.
Do you think designs are also something that you would call the USP of the brand?
Absolutely. Design is the basic core of what we do. It's what we are known for, and there are a lot of other brands out there who, are able to do costume jewelry or imitation jewelry. But the kind of design philosophy and the design signature that we have built for ourselves is very unique. We hope to be able to take that even across other categories that we look to expand into.
Yeah, I absolutely love the quality. The fab part is that, what I actually saw online was also what kind of came through.
Right.
So tell me, what is the secret to that? Like, how do you guys kind of like manage to communicate that message through and through?
So I think it all stems from our brand philosophy, right? Which essentially states that, we believe that every woman should be able to express herself with well-designed, affordable products. Good quality and good design are pretty much at the core of what we do. And it's not just about, giving the product to a designer and saying, hey, manufacture this in the best way possible, right? It's actually ingrained in every single employee. So, for example, even my office runner, who is, collecting products from a manufacturer and delivering it to the warehouse. Before he delivers it to the warehouse, while he's at the manufacturer, he has been trained in doing a quality check. He does the quality check and then only brings it into the warehouse. And every single person, including my customer service team, are trained in quality control. And I think that is what has led to, a positive feedback. It really just comes down to how you permeate that philosophy into your everyday operations.
That's fab. I think especially for brands that are kind of just starting out, that's really great advice.
Right.
Are there more tips that you can maybe share for someone who's trying to set up like a homegrown jewelry brand?
I think with jewelry, I think a lot of people, make a mistake of thinking that, a jewelry brand has to only fit a certain type of a customer base or a certain type of a design aesthetic, right? I think that when you're thinking about brand, I think the first question you have to ask yourself is, who are you targeting? And I think that has to be a large enough number that you can scale it up. Otherwise it'll always remain a very small scale, business or brand. And I think it should be something that can appeal to as many women as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so if I talk about the business side of things, you raised funding very, very early on in the business. How did that kind of help aid the growth of your business?
Funding is a very there's a gray zone on funding. On one hand, I feel that startups can really scale up with funding because it brings a lot of structure and organization in the company. For example, we were able to put a lot of systems in place because of funding. We were able to hire a really good team, and so all of these are big pluses in my mind. You can actually grow and scale up very quickly. On the cons, I would say it's the fact that, you have to be really prepared and ready to have somebody else on your board, right? And a lot of times, the people who are investing in your company may not necessarily know what it is that you do, or may not know exactly how you run your business, and may not always necessarily share the same vision. I was very fortunate in that every investor that I've had on my cap table has trusted me 100% and have always supported every decision I've made. But that's not always the case. So when you are looking at getting funding, it's very important to think about it as a marriage between two individuals, right? And is there a match, in the kind of philosophy, in the kind of approach that you should take? Because otherwise it can end up being very difficult and challenging for a founder or an entrepreneur to navigate not just running the business, but also managing an investor.
Fair enough. I think I've also seen that run through our company, also because we're like a funded
Right.
company. I've seen how much of a difference, the fact that a good investor can make to your business, where, they know you, they trust you, they got your back, but they let you
Correct.
do your thing. Okay. I feel like, till the world isn't COVID free, I feel like no conversation can be COVID free either. So while traditional businesses were severely hit last year, online businesses still kind of sail through, since your e-store was always open to your consumer. Obviously, manufacturing was hit, delivery was hit, and so on and so forth. But how did the last year kind of look for your brand?
So, of course, jewelry was not an essential product, and I think that in general, people were not necessarily looking at buying jewelry, especially in the first few months of the lockdown, right? The focus was largely on just getting essential products. However, by about July, when we started seeing occasions and festivals start, like, for example, Raksha Bandhan in July, kind of kicked off the whole festive season, we started seeing a big uptick in the brand again. And also, we've actually grown significantly in the last 7 to 8 months. But more importantly, what has been interesting for us is we've seen a change in the consumer demand as well, right? So before, a lot of times women were buying jewelry for a day wear or for night wear as well, or party wear. And now what we're seeing is a lot of gifting coming into the foray, where, because I think people are so far away from each other and they haven't seen their friends or family in so long, that gifting has become a way for them to show their affection, show their emotions, and show their appreciation for someone else. And so we've actually seen an uptick in that category. And in fact, what's been really interesting as well for us has been that while, we've always been this, very women-centric brand, because of gifting, we've actually seen a lot of, men coming to our website as well to want to buy gifts. So in fact, even our targeting has shifted towards men because of that, and we've now got about almost 25% of our customers who are men who are buying jewelry as gifts. In fact, we're now almost thinking of starting a men's range of jewelry because, we have this captive audience, and, it might be a lucrative way to rope them in as well.
Fair. That's also really sweet, I feel. And I think also with Valentine's Day coming, maybe that's also something that might just like,
Sure.
take
Yeah,
the gifting bit
exactly.
up.
Exactly.
Okay. I was reading an article yesterday that said that, India is actually the second largest manufacturer of fashion jewelry after China, and the growth rates are going to remain
Right.
fairly high. What is your take on the fashion jewelry industry in the country right now?
My take is that it's a fragmented industry. There are a lot of players. Organized retail is only about 2% of the entire industry. So there is still a lot of opportunity to make and to create brands within the industry. But that being said, I think it's growing at an extremely fast rate. Like you said, it's poised to grow almost at about a 25-30% CAGR over the next 5 years, which is, a very robust growth for any category. A lot more brands are going to come out of this space. It's going to be very interesting to see new types of designs and new types of distribution channels come to play.
Has the lockdown kind of impacted that? Do you think a lot more like online fashion jewelry businesses have come out of the lockdown?
Yeah. I think in general, not just for jewelry, but I think in general, a lot of traditional players have built e-commerce websites and have started focusing on their online play. And I think that's a good thing, because the more brands there are for the consumers to choose from, the better it is, right?
Fair enough. Shuchi, like you might already be knowing this, mirrAR is an augmented reality technology platform that enables virtual try-ons for jewelry. We have seen some phenomenal results come out for our clients in terms of, increased sales, increased engagement, reduced return rates. There's so much that happens when you integrate technology into your business model. And especially right now, technology in terms of, say, AR filters, etc., so much is seeping in, even on platforms like Instagram and Facebook. What is your take on the role of immersive technologies in the jewelry space?
I think that immersive technologies will play an important role, and I think that obviously COVID and the pandemic has changed consumer behavior in terms of their purchase, right? Purchase behavior. And I think that, for example, a company like yourself, like mirrAR, where you offer augmented reality options for customers to be able to see what a product looks like. Back in the day, probably 3-4 years ago, I would have said, this technology is too young. It's too early for brands or consumers to adopt it. But I don't think there's a better time than now for something like that, because of the pandemic. I think structural changes and structural shifts have happened in the way people shop. These kind of technologies really help brands position themselves to the customers in a more relevant way. And I think for customers also to be able to shop with ease from the comforts of their home without having to worry about exposing themselves, etc.
Great. Okay. I'm now going to move to the next section of our conversation, which is called High Five. It's a rapid fire round. It's a very quick one, 5 questions, and we're good to go.
Okay.
What is the one hard no for Pipa Bella as a brand?
Honestly, I don't think we have any no. I don't believe in saying never, because we've done so many different things that sometimes even we've surprised ourselves with the kind of things that we've done. And I don't think one should create any boundaries when it comes to creativity. So I honestly say nothing.
Fair. Okay. Is there a jewelry photography tip that always comes in handy?
Oh, this is a good question. I think that jewelry always shines. Gold jewelry always shines on or stands out more on a darker background. So that's always something that brands should try to follow.
Right. I think, we've seen that a lot with our photography as well, because we need to digitize people's inventory. So that's a really good point. Okay. What is the one thing on your checklist that you should always think about before you pick an influencer to promote your jewelry brand?
Okay, good question. I think that, brands, just like influencers, tell a story, right? And there's, a certain type of signature, style signature, design signature that both a brand and an influencer share. So it's important that they share that same design signature, So for Pipa Bella, when we're looking at influencers, we're looking at women who are edgy, strong personality, where they express themselves in very unique ways, because that is the core design philosophy of Pipa Bella.
Okay. What are the 2 global fashion jewelry brands that you look up to?
Okay. So personally, I love Tiffany's. I've just always loved their marketing campaigns. I think they just do a fabulous job. And I think they've just built this iconic brand that has lasted through so many generations. And there's another brand which is also a pretty well-known brand in the US, but a brand that I really look up to because of the kind of social messaging which they do, which is a brand called Kendra Scott. They do a lot of philanthropy work, which is linked to the brand, and they have a strong social message, which, really appeals to me.
Yeah, both the brands are truly iconic. Okay, what is your favorite collection that you've launched till date, or what is the one collection that you always recommend to other people?
Oh, I have so many. I don't know if I can pick one. But I think my favorite one, probably the one that I keep wearing, is this shell collection we did a year and a half ago, which was basically a summer collection.
Okay, perfect. Shuchi, thank you so much. This was a fab conversation. I'm very, very happy that, our first jewelry conversation was with you. Thank you so much for doing this and taking the time out.
It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
For everyone who tuned in today, thank you so much for taking the time out and listening to our conversation. If this conversation struck a chord with you, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and share this with your friends and family. If you have a take on the topic we discussed, or if you'd like to share some feedback, please feel free to write to me. I'm going to catch you next week with yet another uninterrupted conversation. Have a great evening ahead.